Heyo, it's Brie, and today I want to talk about feminism. Wait, that's better. What? Oh, these? Meh. I have all these noises going on right now. The printer's being weird and the dishwasher is on, but just ignore that, because I have some important things to say. Right about now, I've split my audience into three main factions. The first faction is the feminists, who are now super offended that I'm wearing all of this cleavage out in the open because they think somehow I'm undermining all of my feminist sisters. The second faction is the guys and girls who are now really excited about this video, not because of what I'm gonna say in it, but because I look really good in this shirt. And the third faction is thinking to themselves right now, that is a super cute shirt. Where did you get it? To the third faction, thank you. I got it at Old Navy, probably on sale. I rarely can justify paying full price for clothing. To the second faction, by all means, continue watching this video. I'm not gonna change, and I could always use the extra views. And to the first faction, you should probably stop watching this video right now because you've already made up your mind about me and no amount of my reasonable discourse is going to change your opinion of that. Of course, you could always stick around and actually listen to what I have to say, but it's your choice. I said I was going to talk about feminism, and I am. But before you start groaning, this is not going to be like most feminist videos. I'm not going to rant about the patriarchy. Instead, I'm going to rant about other feminists, but we'll get to that. For the longest time, I had trouble defining myself as a feminist. Though I believed wholeheartedly in the idea that every human being, regardless of race, creed, religion, gender, or sexuality, deserved equal rights. And I hated it when boys said things like, "Hey, you were pretty good for a girl." I found it difficult to define myself as a feminist because I didn't hate men. I'm not saying that all feminists are man-hating, but from my adolescent perspective, it's kind of hard not to get that impression. The patriarchy is holding us down! Don't let yourself be defined by your man! Growing up, most of my closest friends have been boys. Even though my oldest and best friend, Rachel, is a female and will probably be friends for the rest of our lives, we haven't gone to school together since 5th grade, and since then I haven't been able to hold on to a female friend for longer than a couple of years. It's not because, girls aren't good together, it's just because I generally get along better with people with Y chromosomes. That's not a statement, and that has nothing to do with my sexuality, lack thereof, whatever you want. It just has to do with I simply get along better with boys. And it was because of this that it was hard to align myself with the feminists, because I honestly adored the boys I surrounded myself with. It wasn't a sexual thing. I wasn't in love with them, or most of them. And it wasn't because I really liked the attention of being the only female, adored by troves and troves of men. It was because, simply, I got along better with people with Y chromosomes. And because historically feminism has represented itself as wholly separate from men, I just didn't think there was a place for me. Recently, I've been reading a lot of feminist theory, contrary to my better judgment, and to my pleasant surprise, feminism has changed a lot recently. The most recent wave of feminism, third wave feminism, also considered sex-positive feminism, has finally started to recognize that, at least in a contemporary context, men aren't always the problem. Women are too. Marilyn Monroe once said, "A sex symbol becomes a thing." And I just hate to be a thing. But guess who makes you a thing? You. Which brings me back to these. These are my breasts. If I ever have a baby, they will fill with milk to nurture said baby, and the reason that they protrude from my body is because, unlike the apes and monkeys we call our cousins, our faces are not manufactured in such a way that would allow us to not be smothered while getting nourishment as a baby. Because apes have like the thing. Anyways, if my chest was flat and I tried to nurse a child, they would be smothered. So that's why boobs stick out in us rather than other mammals. That's the reason that they're there. I just thought that was important information for you to know. But since obviously I do not have a baby, these just sort of sit there as really inconvenient extra appendages. Some people may look upon them with lust, and others may look upon them with disgust. But frankly, my dears, I don't give a damn. My breasts are simply that, mine. Some feminists would call me a slut for wearing them proudly like this, but they fail to recognize that societal subjugation starts and ends with ourselves. Maybe if I wear this shirt out in public, men will look at me and say, I don't need this magazine, I'm gonna go home and fap to that. And you know what? Let them. Because that thought process has absolutely nothing to do with me. At the end of a day, wearing a cleavage-bearing shirt, men and women might look at me and label me a slut. Yes, I have breasts and I'm not afraid of them, but you know what else I have? A 3.5 GPA in college, a wall full of speech plaques, a website full of thoughtful pop culture critiques and videos of my friends and I cooking together. Your opinions of me do not enter into the equation that is my self-worth at all. Marilyn Monroe's quote about wishing to be more than a thing is sad for a lot of reasons, but the most relevant of which is this. Monroe fails to redefine herself and thus falls into the negative worldview that other people have inflicted upon her. In the end, it's not society that makes you a thing. It's yourself. Feminists like to look down upon other women who wear cleavage-bearing clothing, like to cook, or, God forbid, fall in love with men. But this mindset fails to recognize a really important factor. Just because you cook and want to get married and have kids does not mean that you aren't just as hopeful that women will get equal pay rights in the workplace. My wearing makeup and excitement over baking and falling in love with men doesn't make me anti-feminist. It means that I like to wear makeup, enjoy the smell of freshly baked cookies, and have a biological predisposition to be attracted to men. That's it. This is and has always been my biggest problem with feminism, that it fails to recognize the difference between societal norms and gender-specific traits. Yes, traits like aggression and dominance have historically been linked with the masculine, but that doesn't mean that a woman can't also be aggressive and dominant without being a victim of the patriarchy. By labeling traits as either masculine or feminine, you're inherently subjugating everyone because you're not allowing people to just be people. If you really want equality, stop making this an us or them scenario. I'm a person who happens to have double D breasts, loves to cook, and eagerly awaits the next Mission Impossible or Die Hard film. That doesn't make me anti-feminist or a victim of the radical patriarchy. That makes me a person.